Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by COOP Ale Works. We're recording this on Monday, October 24th. That means the Thunder has 3 games under their belt, and they just had their home opener, an energetic night inside of Paycom Center last night against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Guys, that was the second night of a back-to-back. There was a lot happening in the arena, and we got to see a lot of different lineups so far. So we brought in our good friend Chris Fisher, who's going to help us break down everything that we've seen so far. But Chris, we just got to talk about the vibes on opening night, right? That was awesome.
I mean, first and foremost, it's good to be back on this podcast. And second of all, I think that after everything that we've gone through the last couple of years, I will never, ever, ever take a single fan for granted ever again. And it's not every single night that you walk into the arena, you can feel a certain energy, you can feel a certain vibe, and people are really excited to be there. But opening night is one of those nights. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a level of excitement around this team, around this organization, around these players for essentially what is brewing. Because as young as they are, and them being the youngest team in the NBA, there are some familiar faces. There are some players who we've gotten to know a little bit over the last couple of years who we're excited about seeing, who are excited about their development and what are they going to showcase this year. And I think that that's something that the fans were excited about last night. They wanted to see him up close in person. I'm sure you guys felt the same way because I know I did. I mean, I came on the air and I said, Michael, man, it feels really good to be back inside this arena. And a lot of that is because of the work that these guys have done and the appreciation for the fans. And it gets you excited for the fact that we get to see them on a regular basis. And the fans are going to get to see them 40 more times.
I think getting to experience 2 other teams opening nights before this really built it up even more because – you know, the home team in these, especially in the opening night games, gets this great special treatment. There's the whole build-up right before they run onto the court. And, you know, it's starting lineups we finally got that moment for these Thunder players where they got to really feel that extra special love. You know, like Jeremiah Robinson-Earl and Trey Mann are getting, massive ovations when they're getting announced in the starting lineups. And, when you're in those road arenas on their opening nights, it's, silent in there. And these guys are getting jacked up, ready to play, and there's just something different about feeling like you got 18,000 people behind your back. And it was so cool. And us being down courtside, which is not always the case in every arena, gives you that other feeling of just being surrounded in this cavern of volume.
Well, you bring up a good point too about this being the third opening night, and I said that to Michael in our open. It's like, Michael, this is the third time we've said opener because it was the season opener on Wednesday, it was the Denver home opener, and then it was the Thunder home opener. And so that's a lot of emotion going into these games that you got to overcome. And they stuck in both those games on the road deep into the fourth quarter. They were into the fourth quarter last night, but that is just a lot of emotion game after game after game because, like you said, Nick, you walk into those buildings, it just feels different.
Yeah, there was a little extra sauce to this one, I feel like, too, because this was 15 seasons for Thunder basketball in Oklahoma specifically. So there was a little extra milestone that was being achieved. And we've heard from a lot of fans and season ticket members who have been with the Thunder since 2008, the excitement of coming into Paycom Center every single night, it doesn't really go away. And especially with this young team, with how much work they've been putting in. One thing that stands out in my mind, you were talking about the fans getting, or Trey and JRE getting their ovations. I was thinking about how much more intensity the fans say Lou now whenever he runs out. Last year, it was just kind of you could hear it a little bit. It's are they saying Lou? And it's this year it's Lou. Yeah. It's super loud. It's unmistakable. And it's just the more and more they do that, it was so special this opening night.
Well, and I couldn't help but think that it was a little bit poetic that Lou and Kenrich Williams were both in the starting lineup. These are 2 guys that inked long-term deals with the organization in the offseason, and it was their first chance to play in front of these fans. And I had a chance to talk to Lou before the game, and he basically said, this organization, this city, these fans have invested so much in me. They gave me my first opportunity, and so I'm playing this whole season for them. And it didn't hit me the same way in the preseason as it did last night during starting lineups when I'm watching those guys run out there for the first time. And they truly can feel okay, this is going to be my home for a while. And I also think it's poetic that Mike Muscala played such a big role too, because this is another guy that when he's had the opportunity to choose, he's done it over and over again to choose to be here. So a lot of, I guess, nice symmetry happening in opening night.
Well, it's interesting because their qualities as people and their qualities as players become very endearing. And it's easy to like them. It becomes endearing for this city and the values of the city. Because if you look at the way that Lou and Kenrich have gone about their business and have gone about trying to prove themselves as NBA players, it has been about as steep of a hill as you could possibly climb in the NBA. Neither of them were drafted.
Right.
And that is really hard to do. And for both of them to be able to overcome that, you appreciate it, you value it, and you want to try to cultivate it more. And I think that that's something that fans, and I know that we as guys that get to, and girls that get to watch them on a regular basis, that we enjoy seeing.
Yeah, and I think it's also a huge part of our jobs that I don't think any of us take for granted, that we are that connection point a lot of times on the broadcast between the players and the fans, and something that our fans get to do 82 nights out of the year is hang out with these guys. And they feel like each game they tick a little bit forward on how much they get to know the guys. And of course, through social media and some of these other things, they continue to have these touch points. But that's the beautiful thing about sports and having a professional team in your city is you get to feel like you're part of this crew, and these are your friends that you hang out with from 7:00 till 9:30,
right,
3-4 nights a week. And that's your friend group that you're a part of. And it's even better when you go to get to hang out with them in person.
Yeah, and Sam, we've heard Sam say this group in particular is the most representative group for this state. And you can tell by how the fans reacted to Shea giving the opening address. And he wasn't even playing in that game. And yet the same sort of, embrace. And even in the crowd, we saw fans holding up, we got your back, number 7 for Chet Holmgren, who is out this entire season. And so you feel that warm embrace. You feel that connection from the crowd to the players. Yeah.
I don't think there's a hint of entitlement from any one of these players. And that's something that resonates. It's something that you pick up and that you get a feel from. It's such a selfless group. For a group, too, that is extremely young, that is trying to fight for minutes, that doesn't have anything guaranteed. And you've got guys that are trying to establish themselves as NBA players, but at the same time playing selfless basketball. And that is a quality that is very likable.
Yeah, a lot of things that we're seeing off the court from these players showing up on the floor. And we've seen it over the course of these first 3 games of this regular season. So we're going to break down some of that basketball talk. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
COOP Ale Works is the proud sponsor of Thunder Basketball Universe. Brewers of the fan favorites F5 IPA and 99-calorie Ice Chest IPA. You'll find those and many more COOP beers at retailers across Oklahoma. Learn more at CoopAleWorks.com.
Like we mentioned off the top, 3 games for the Thunder so far. That means 3 different tests and a whole lot of takeaways that they can use going forward from here on out. So we've obviously been ingrained with all of these games. We've been breaking them all the way down. So we're going to talk our biggest takeaways so far from this regular season. Nick, I'll let you go first. You're in pole position.
Yeah, I think one of the major themes that we heard about coming out of training camp was competitiveness. And that's within the lines, that's outside of the lines, that's physically and mentally. And one of the things that I really liked in each of the first 3 games, but particularly last night against Minnesota in the home opener, was the way that the Thunder ran through the finish line. And, it would have been really easy after that haymaker that the Timberwolves threw at the beginning of that fourth quarter. The lead ends up swelling to about 22 points. Those last few minutes of the game, the Thunder could have rolled over and just kind of rolled the ball out there. They actually went on, I think, a 13-1 run to close the game. And that closing unit did something that Mark Daigneault really described after the game, which was there is no such thing as garbage minutes, especially for a team in the NBA in general, but especially for a team kind of in the stage of its development that this one is in right now. You can't hope to replicate the type of success that the Thunder had last season with all of those double-digit comebacks, all of those 15-point comebacks, if you treat the closing of games in garbage time. Yes, the chances of a comeback late in that game last night were not great, but if you're treating those like you've got no chance, well, the time where it's a 12-point game with 5 minutes to go, you won't have trained yourself to be able to actually fight to the finish line and run all the way through. So I thought this was good groundwork laid.
One of the interesting things that I noted was when Mark was asked about what do you get out of these competitive games early against good playoff teams? And I thought his answer was really interesting because he said, number one, it allows you to build off of your habits, which are trending in the right direction. But two, it also gives you a little bit of a belief that you can hang with these teams, knowing that you're putting yourself in a position to win with 5-6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter because they are 48-minute games. And I think that carries a little bit of value. And it was just interesting hearing him kind of mention it because they've done so much to lay so much of the foundation. Competitiveness, a big part of that. And they're so much further this year than they were last year. And because of that, at some point they're going to learn how to win these games. Yeah. But you kind of have to go through the growing pains. But keeping that competitive spirit has been fun to watch.
And it's not just learning on the players' part, right? Like, those minutes are being evaluated. Like, when the players say it's a 48-minute game and the coaches say it's a 48-minute game, that means all 48 minutes are on the table for an analysis and evaluation and seeing what these guys are capable of. And so the coaches are just as locked in at that time as the players are. And so if you treat it like it's not real game time, well, then we're assuming as coaches that that's how you're going to treat game time.
Yeah. And just to note, like, that evaluation that's happening is not like causing knee-jerk decisions to be made. Like, these are data points that are being collected over the course of the first few months of the season as they continue to learn and kind of observe, as we've talked about, what these guys are capable of, what the opportunities are for mixing and matching and all of that. Right.
No touch point taken for granted at any point, either in a game or in a practice setting. All right, Nick, that was a good one. I like that one. I'm gonna go next. Mine was adaptability, and this is something that really, I think last season they laid a good foundation of trying to establish this with a young team. It's one of the best lessons that any team can learn in the NBA is just being able to take what is thrown at you. And so far, the Thunder has had 3 games and 3 different starting lineups. And that means different guys getting a chance to get into the starting lineup, but also different guys coming off of the bench and having to be ready, step into different situations, go up against different opponents and different matchups. And that's so critical and valuable for these guys to learn. And I love when Coach Dagnall talks about this because he's like, we can't create an environment where guys are like structured, like we know exactly what we're going to do. And because then you get hit with something that, throws you off course and you have no idea what to do. So strengthening that muscle of adaptability is like really important in the NBA, and the Thunder's being really, really intentional about building that.
So when you look at the box score, usually on an NBA night, there's a rotation of 9 to 10 guys.
Yeah.
And that's what coaches typically are comfortable with. And Mark has had 13 guys play for 3 consecutive nights, which is a huge number, but also expected because this team is just, and the players are really just too undeveloped at this point to make any decisions about them, to make any decisions about rotations, to make any decisions about starting lineups. The Thunder are not alone in this, in that there's a lot of teams that are still trying to feel themselves out and try to learn what they have with their roster additions or roster subtractions. But particularly with this team, we knew that there were going to be a lot of guys going and competing for certain spots and competing for minutes. But within your point, Paris, of adaptability, it is cool to see just how many different guys can play different positions and do different things, whether it's on offense or defense, handle the ball, be outside on the perimeter, defend multiple positions, all these things that you're striving to get to sort of create this versatility over the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things Mark has talked about is if you're active, you're live. And there's one other level to this that I think is pretty fascinating. Before each game, every NBA coach gets asked, who are you starting tonight? And Mark kind of made a point to begin this year that he's not going to be revealing that. And that's not just because of a competitive advantage thing where you want to hold on those starting lineups until the 30-minute mark before tip-off is in order to make sure your opponent doesn't know which way you're going. It's also a bit of an advantage for just team building and those habit building things for guys to make sure that, hey, like, I need to be ready to start regardless of what's happening from a night-to-night basis. And so, yes, there's that internal communication going on between the players and the coaches in terms of letting guys know, what their roles are going to be from night to night. But I think there's a little bit of this setting a culture that, hey, like, you're not going into a game expecting not to play. Because if that's the case, we're going to be caught flat-footed. And over the course of time, when you get to portions of the season or you get to a playoff someday, you can't be flat-footed in those situations. You've got to be able to go out and, go 2 for 3 in 6 minutes, or, make some big time plays. And if you're not thinking that you're going to play, you're not going to be ready to do that.
Can we do a quick case study of a person who has stood out in terms of adaptability and readiness?
Go ahead.
You know what I'm going to say, right?
It's all you, Paris.
It's Mike Muscala,
Yeah.
right? This is a guy who it's so valuable that the Thunder has him on this roster because he's the model of just professionalism and readiness. In the last 2 games, he's really showed up in that area. And efficiency, great efficiency too. I mean, against the Nuggets, he had 18 points in 19 minutes. And last night against Minnesota, came into the game, only played 11 minutes, but scored 11 points. And he was playing all over the floor. He was slotted in kind of different spots and positions on the floor, but still productive and still ready to rock and roll.
And by the way, he was the 8th guy off the bench.
Right. 7
other bench players played before he did.
And at any given night, Mike doesn't know how many minutes he's going to play.
We shouldn't be surprised by this at this point, because if I'm going into my memory bank and trying to think back to last season, there were more times than I can count where Mike probably wasn't expected to be in the rotation. And for whatever reason, based off the matchup, the flow of the game, an injury, he would be called upon and come in and make an immediate impact.
Mm-hmm.
This has been his calling card for his entire time with the Thunder. We shouldn't be surprised. And so when he missed all that time last year, he didn't play in the preseason, and he comes in and he's called upon on the bench and he has a great game like he did the other night in Denver, we shouldn't be surprised anymore, because that's just what Mike Muscala has done the entire time he's worn a Thunder jersey. And you take it for granted because he's not this, high heralded guy out there that people really value, but he's a value to this team in so many different ways. And it just, as you said, Paris, his professionalism, his willingness to come in and cold and just be an example for this young team. And he does so many good things out on the floor. Like it's just crazy. It's like Kenrich. Like they just know where to be and how to execute in certain situations.
That's a good point, because I pointed out his scoring, but how many times, Chris, last night were we like, and Mike, great play at the rim, right? Like just vertical, contested
Nobody's better.
Shot. Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody's better at staying vertical and not fouling than Mike Muscala.
It's amazing.
You got to be like, and that's a mental thing. Like you got to be ready to be dunked on, but also like be willing to put your body on the line for those sort of situations.
Didn't he tell us at Media Day too that that's something that he worked on as a rookie when he was with Atlanta, and those principles kind of stuck with him, because he could give a masterclass on how to protect the rim and stay vertical and not foul.
He told us as a 29, 30-year-old that one of the things he worked on over the summer was jumping. Like, think about how basic of a skill that is to continue to practice. And it's somebody who clearly understands who they are as a player, the exact situations that they're going to be in on the floor, and trying to deepen their mastery of those small, tiny details, as opposed to, say, in year 10, I'm going to be this totally different player, right?
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. Just such a great role model for this group to have in that locker room, just in terms of readiness and just being willing to do whatever is necessary out there on the floor. So the Thunder had a lot of lessons to take away from both their games against the Timberwolves and their game against Denver, and they've got to take them with them, because the slate's not getting much easier. As a matter of fact, as we look ahead to what's on tap, the Thunder's got the Clippers, and not back-to-back games, but the Clippers and then the Clippers again, Tuesday, Thursday matchup. And that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, that baseball series, Fish. I mean, we've seen so many of these. What's your takeaway from how the Thunder kind of approaches these games where you're going to play two teams, or the same team, 2 games in a row? And what do you think the benefits are for a young squad?
I go back to the bubble year when these first really kind of came out, and we were unused to them, I guess is the best way to put it. We just weren't used to them. But they become common practice, and I think that the Clippers are a great opponent because, number one, they're a good team. Yeah. Number two, you get them at home. And number three, you can always make the proper adjustments. I remember when we played in LA 2 years ago when there were no fans, the Clippers kind of roughed them up physically. I don't know if you guys remember that. And that was one of the big talking points after the game, like Serge Ibaka and Zubats just really took it to him in the paint. And that was a point of emphasis going into game 2, because they could essentially try to fortify their interior defense. And they ended up losing the game, but it was something that they improved upon.
Right.
And it's something that you can get experience doing because they're going to try to do a certain thing. And if you can't stop it, they're going to keep doing it until you stop it. Or you can try a certain action, and if they stop it, then you can try something else and make those adjustments, and you can do it over the course of 2 games. So it's like a mini series in a lot of ways. Right. So you can kind of get into that mindset and understand, okay, this is what this guy's doing to shut this off. But I think they're really valuable if you treat it that way. And we've seen the Thunder treat these with that kind of seriousness where, hey, look, game 1 to game 2, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And we can find those marginal improvements.
I mean, it's just like anything in life. If you get a chance to do something immediately after you just tried to do it, if you get a chance to change a tire right after you just changed a tire, you're going to do it a lot better, right? If any of those like small things that take concentration and focus and dexterity, when those things are fresh in your short-term memory, those habits are going to be a lot easier to kind of like hone and refine. And I think that's one of the reasons why Mark really loves these, is especially for a young team, it's kind of like you've got their attention, right? And so whatever the action is that the Clippers are going to be running on Tuesday night, they'll have a chance to defend those better on Thursday.
And we've heard a lot that these are barometer games. I mean, there are a lot of people that think that the Clippers are as likely as anybody to come out of the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And so you've got Kawhi Leonard, you've got Paul George, John Wall, Ivica Zubac. Like, these are really good players. They've got one of the deepest teams in the league, and Mark calls these barometer games. So they're good measuring points.
And great games to come out and see. They're going to be here in Paycom Center. The first one tips off on Tuesday at 7 p.m. The second one Thursday at 7 p.m. So be sure to get here and watch this game live. Chris, thanks so much for being here with us.
Let's
appreciate
do it again.
you.
Thanks, Chris.
We got you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the all-new segment of In the Know right after this. We're back with an all-new segment of In the Know. This is a new segment this season where we're bringing you a little bit behind the scenes. We're bringing in leaders from around the business office that will help you understand better as a fan what you're seeing on the court, throughout the concourse of the arena, and on social media and online as well. And today, following the Thunder's home opener, we thought it best to bring on Joslin, who is the Director of Guest Relations and Safety for the Thunder, and that incorporates a lot of different things. And so, Joy, first things first, can you just break down a little bit what all your role entails here?
Sure, I will do my best. So when we think about the guest experience, it's a lot of what happens in the arena outside of the game of basketball itself. It's important to us because we can't control what happens in the sport, in the game of basketball, that we do focus on what we can control. And the most important aspect of that to us is how we treat people who are in the building and making sure that they have a great experience. And we believe that families and anyone can come in and enjoy their game experience, no matter what happens on the court. And they will celebrate and thrive off of those opportunities. But there are so many things in the building to enjoy. But our guest experience side incorporates both creating great guest experiences and providing those opportunities, but also providing resolution if anything comes up. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to turn it around and that our guests can feel cared for here in the building. But we also take that feedback in the office during the week. That feedback comes through phone calls, emails, survey responses, a variety of different avenues that fans reach out to us and let us know about their experience. If they are sharing great things, then we want to be sure we pass that along to management teams so that they can celebrate their staff. If they if they're sharing concerns, we want to resolve it. And so we take a very actionable mindset to every piece of feedback that we see because it's valuable to us. Anytime someone takes the time to share something that we can improve on, we want to do that. But our team also, in turn, provides customer service training essentially for all of the staff within the building so that everyone can be on the same page for what guest care looks like in this game day experience. And then recognition programs to show our appreciation. And then the safety side of that actually incorporates, it's twofold. It incorporates security. So any incidents that happen in the building or protocols that come down through NBA security, which included COVID. So that's where some of that came in. All of those protocols came through the security standards.
So there's so much build up to the start of the season for everybody, and that includes the 2 preseason games that we had here at home, but then last night's home opener as well. I'm just curious, from your standpoint, what is those few weeks before the season starts, as you're gathering all your staff together and you're making sure that everybody's sort of all aligned on the expectations of what 18,000 fans are going to experience when they walk in the building?
We do our best as we're walking through, even before doors and the days leading up to doors, walking through and taking a lens of a fan and of the guest and thinking what things might affect their experience. If there's any issue that they might encounter, if there are any directional signage efforts that we can make so that they don't have to question where to go, if we need to fix or respond to anything in the building so that it just provides a better guest experience, then we're definitely thinking about that. And also what will just make it exciting from the moment they walk in the door. But I feel like the biggest effort is just energizing and building up the staff. And we believe the more we care for them, the more equipped they'll be to care for the guest. And this is such a phenomenal group of people that we work with. The majority of staff in the building work for other organizations, but they represent our Thunder family and they're part of our Thunder family. We can't do it without them. And they're excited to be back and provide the experiences.
I was just about to talk about that. The entire group of the ushers, the people staffing and manning all the concession stands, just a great group. And it seems like they all are really locked in and bought into being a part of something bigger than themselves, which is making sure that the people who come into the building every night have a great night. That's what it seems like.
Absolutely. They're here doing what they do because they love it. They love the game day experience, they love interacting with the fans, and they thrive off of that. And if they can do something that helps make someone's night, then it makes their own night. They look for those opportunities. In fact, they love any chance that we can provide them resources to create special opportunities. Like they have access to things like birthday buttons to help celebrate someone who's here on their birthday, or first game buttons, and they're eager to bring people to us if they find out someone's there for the first time. And that way they feel celebrated throughout the whole building. But it's really fun to see the staff take ownership of that, and they realize that they impact the experience in a great way, and they take pride in it. But then they also recognize how they're part of someone's story. When someone looks back on the experience, they're talking about the game of basketball, but they're also talking about the interactions they had in the building. And that can be what truly makes it special.
Yeah, that's a huge reason why fans of any sports team in this country decide to go, or around the world decide to go, is yes, what's happening on the floor, but it's that sense of community and the sense of civic pride in having a professional basketball team here in Oklahoma City that the staff really helps draw out. I want to ask you also, like, I'm not sure that fans maybe will, as they're going through their nights and they're doing everything, might totally recognize how many game night staff we have working and how long of hours they work. Many of these people are doing this, as you said, as their passion, right? Some of them are senior citizens who their whole weeks are built up towards this opportunity to be at a Thunder game. So just maybe kind of want to put to you, like, who are some of these people? Give us like a little bit of a view into the number of people that are here to service the arena and the fans.
Sure. It's actually quite shocking when you put it together. I took inventory a couple seasons ago by reaching out to each of our management groups that oversee game day staff so that we could have a really accurate read on how many people it takes to operate a Thunder game day. So that starts from the people who are here early in the morning preparing, the people who are in the parking lots that are associated with our season ticket members and those who have parking passes, to coming onto the property at all, but even those who are essential to the game day environment that may not be seen by the guests, back in the kitchens or back of house operations, setting up the court, all of those different areas. And it's actually about 1,400 people.
Wow.
That includes our basketball operations staff working with the team. But if you count every person who's involved in making a game day possible on the game day, it's about 1,400.
That's amazing. So just every time you walk into the building, recognize like how much is happening behind the scenes, under the surface, to bring all of that to life and give you the guest experience that you're getting.
It takes a village. And Joy, just coming off the heels of our home opener, you've been doing this for a while now. Just what were your emotions going into that game night?
Last night had such an electric energy, and it was something that was just so refreshing to see and be a part of. Being in the Arena Bowl at tip-off last night was powerful. Mm-hmm. And we get the fans back in the building, and especially starting out on a Sunday was something special because Sundays tend to bring in more of our family crowds. So when we have a lot more of the kids in the building, they got to return to post-game free throws last night, which was a lot of fun. Any kids after the game on Sundays who are under the age of 16 have the opportunity to get on the court where an NBA game was just played and shoot a free throw. It's really so cool. Something special.
Yeah.
But the energy was definitely invigorating last night and contagious, I think.
I cannot imagine getting the chance to shoot on an NBA hoop when I was a teenager or a kid. Like, that's crazy.
I would have given an arm and a leg to go do that. Definitely. We could certainly feel that energy down there, and credit to you and your staff for creating such an awesome environment every single night. We're excited for 41 of these throughout the entire season. It's going to be fun.
Great. We are too. And we have 3 fan information booths that we would love for people to know about as well. There's a fan information booth at the northeast entrance, at the southwest entrance, and then one in Loud City at section 312. And those are a great resource for anyone to come who has questions, or if an issue comes up. Please give us the chance to resolve it, because we always want to turn it around and not take a chance that someone would leave with something unresolved. Yeah. But we've got a lot of great resources there, and would love for fans to stop by so we can help make the visit special.
How about before or after the game, if fans are looking for more information on, where to park, what to do, when I go into the arena, what are some of my options, where can they go for that type of information? Sure,
I've got 2 great resources for that. If they want to email, fans@OKC Thunder is managed on a daily basis. Every message gets a response. Fans@OKC Thunder is our fan advocate email account. But then also on the website or through the Thunder mobile app, if they pull up Fan Assist. Fan Assist is a really great resource because it's available with automatically generated responses according to keywords. If they're looking for parking, it will take them directly to some great options for that. It will also let them know about food and beverage and things within the building. But there's a live chat option that's available during business hours and during games. So if there's any question that doesn't generate an automated response that they need, they can get someone live. And the reason I really would like for people to know about that is that it's really helpful on a game day. If they're in their seat and they want to report something that they see that's concerning, they can use Fan Assist. If they have a question about where to find something in the building, Fan Assist. It's a really great tool that would be very helpful to have available on a game day.
And a heck of a lot more efficient than trying to track you down on a game night, that's for sure.
That's highly likely.
You'll never know where to find Joy on any given game night, that's for sure. So fans@OKCThunder.com and then Fan Assist are going to be some really valuable resources for you before and after games, even during games, the Fan Assist. And then also look out for those information booths, those 3 information booths that are going to be around the arena every single game night, staffed and ready to assist you in anything that you might need. Joy, this was awesome. It is a joy having you on our podcast.
Thank you.
I knew you were
Such
going to sneak
I
that line in.
I had to do it. I couldn't resist. Thank you so much,
Thanks, Joy.
Thank you.
That wraps up today's podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much, Joy, for joining us today. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.